Welcome back. We continue with our news review right here on Power Breakfast of Citizen TV. Just before the break, we were discussing issues to do with the state of the economy, the marginal growth of 5.8%. Let's now talk about the politics because they're interconnected. Now, of course, being on in the nominations month. And the screaming headline on the Standard this morning, rough time for big ODM names. First governor falls. Shock results continue to hit key political players in ODM primaries, with Taita Taveta Governor Murutu losing to MP Mwadegu. Now, earlier Busia's Otuoma set the stage to run as an independent. A similar confusion hit Nyamira nominations. Well, this is where we are in terms of ODM party primaries. Of course, Jubilee is coming, and we'll discuss Jubilee. Jubilee is a different We'll discuss it still in this news review, so do not worry, Jubilee is coming up. Let's start off with ODM and what we've seen, the chaos, the losses, the wins, the controversy, especially in Busia. Now the first governor has gone. Of course, contestations are there. We still have to wait for the ODM party National Elections Board. We're talking about the biggest party as it is currently in terms of parliamentary numbers. This is the biggest party, ODM, and so when some of these things do happen, of course, they form big discussions. Quick thoughts on this one?
Well, before I comment on that, I want to congratulate Lucy Shuhi, who has been confirmed as a senator in Australia.
Yes,
this is big news for us.
On page 3 of the Daily Nation.
Exactly. I think she has done us proud. She was born in this country, and having been elected a senator from South Australia state, I think it's a brilliant thing, and we say hongera and well done.
She's incidentally the first person of African descent to sit in the 76-member Senate of Australia. That's
exactly.
Huge.
So that's huge. And I'm glad that the nation has given it prominence. Now, when we talk about the political ongoings within the ODM family, I think elections are supposed to be contested, and the contestants have to have a winner and a loser. What is critical to me is the process. How is the process conceived, and how is the process executed, and whether after the election the contestants will say there was legitimacy of the public making the decision, whichever way they made. That to me is the most important, and that's the biggest challenge all the time, because politics as we organize it in this country is party-based. And I also would like to say something, and this is, if you look at our new constitutional dispensation, we created the Political Parties Act. We went even further. We even created political funding by the Treasury. So the moment the public became funders of political parties, the mindset of political parties should equally change, so that you don't conduct elections of a political party oblivious of what does the other public think. And this public we are talking about is not necessarily member-based party. It is the general public, because we are stakeholders of how the political process takes place. And I would like this thing to be really understood by Kenyans, that we are talking about how do we organize our governance. And our governance is actually organized around the results of political parties. And those political parties, since we determined that we shall be funding it, even if I'm not a member of DM, I have an interest in how they conduct those elections. Because remember, the moment you come out of ODM and you are a member of ODM, and for some reason you are in government, how you conduct yourself is of interest to everybody. Jubilee Party is in government today, is in charge of the country today. And how they conduct their elections, the members of Ford Kenya, the members of ODM, the members of other parties should be very concerned, because the person we are electing through the party eventually could influence how and where the resources of the country will be managed. And that's very, very important. Or how laws are made in this country, because they are made by legislators. So it is really important that we have what I call political hygiene in the elections process of the political parties, because ultimately Kenyans will be affected.
And I think you use a perfect word, political hygiene, because now that is something that seems to be a very little supply in political parties, because all these contestations, all this Taita Taveta, the outcome has been contested. The governor Mrutu says he is contesting the results. In Nyamira, James Gesami, who came second to Governor John Nyagarama, is also contesting the results. In Busia, Sospito Jamong was handed the certificate. The party nullified the results, then ordered for a repeat, but the Funyula MP says, no, if at all it is a repeat, I'm going as an independent, contesting the results again. What does it say about our political elite? Because we don't know. You gentlemen don't appear like you know the fact that yes, you could lose. It is a contest and has to get a winner and a loser. So
before I comment, you owe me. Last week you asked us to speak to what would be the headlines of the following day,
and you got it right.
And where is my champagne?
We should get another cup of coffee for Senator Lole. You pointed out, man, to what you said. Sospito Jamong was going to be in the headlines.
Yes,
he was,
and he still is.
He still is.
So basically, what's happening in ODM is not an ODM thing. It's going to happen in Jubilee. It's going to happen in all the political parties. As the Americans say, you ain't seen nothing yet. I want to congratulate Honorable Modegu and Honorable Dr. Otuoma for the sterling performance they have had during the nominations. And I can assure you, this is a clear indicator that when now IEBC takes charge, a lot more heads are going to roll. What disappoints me is that now Modegu, for all intents and purposes, is the governor of Taita Taveta. But how many people decided? 18,000 for him and 15,000 for Mrutu. They have decided on behalf of over 100,000 registered voters. We therefore now must begin the conversation of, since we already have the taxpayer funding political parties anyway, how can the same taxpayer help political party nominations to be free and fair?
By taking part in the primaries, or
by helping in managing? Most of these elections are bungled because of lack of resources to manage the primary election. For example, we saw in Busia, the returns were being brought by Ojamong himself. The election results from South Teso and North Teso were being brought by one of the
ballot boxes.
The ballot boxes. The results were being brought. In fact, there's a famous trending photograph on social media where you are seeing they show a drug overloaded by ballot papers and they say express from South Teso. So we need this conversation, because for all intents and purposes, primaries in certain places, ODM in Nyanza, Jubilee in Central, it means the winner automatically becomes the winner.
Yes, but now it means that even for Jubilee, this kind of contest will be there, because most leaders simply cannot accept that they can lose at any level. And the party primaries now, you lose, but you still know you could run as an independent, but you still contest. None of this is ready. Party primaries are happening, but none of them is ready to accept that they can lose.
I think the answer to that lies to what my friend Halole falls short of saying, and he was very close to admitting one reality, that indeed what Jubilee had first proposed, that IEBC be in charge of nominations, and nominations be held on a day, one day probably across the board, when they can be managed by IEBC, was the right proposal. It is the way to go. That is the future of the country. It is provided for constitutionally. It is nowhere besides the law. The only issue to that, and I confirm, as my colleagues say, is the funding, the availability of the funds, or the directing of those funds for that particular exercise. And the reason why I say so is because you would not be finding all these contestations you're seeing right now of the results. You would not see all the drama and all the fights if, in the first place, there was a perception and a practice that shows that those the processes were fair. And as my colleague here says once more, it is true there were doubts, for example, in the victory of Ojamong, basically because the numbers were not adding up. Reason, there was no arbiter. But to come to the question that you said, you asked lastly, because you specifically domiciled it to ODM and comparing most of those people, although you have also said it's coming to Jubilee. Let's wait and see, because I believe,
I can guarantee you,
absolutely, there will be certainly a lot of tough fought contests, even in Jubilee. It's not going to be a walk in the park. And then this is about careers in which people have invested, so definitely it's competition. So it will be tough and tight. Sometimes even hopefully maybe not violent. But I'll tell you, I'll tell you, you know, my only issue is when you leave the level or the first strata of the behavior and character and commitment of the individual contestant, and now come to the second level of what does the organ itself. And let's first be clear about what are political parties or what political parties. Political parties are public entities. And that is why they enjoy, as my colleagues here said, and as we know in law, even public funding. And so, can we first be very specific that what is happening right now is extremely dangerous for the political future of this country. And the direction in which, one, democracy is going to be practiced, future political parties are going to be put in place, and even how those now who are coming to succeed in politics or succeed politicians are going to perceive it. Now look at some few questions you asked earlier. As a country, if you look at our history from 1963, the directions we took and where we took detours and turns and where we are going, what largely contributed to it? Bad politics. Bad politics. And so we have to say that unless there is decisive action against what is happening, for example, in the institutionalized abuse of democratic practice and the principles as enshrined in our law, unless we do that, we are going the very, very wrong way.
But as you mentioned, Senator, now IEBC will not even conduct Jubilee party primaries.
Let me just make some comments. I think what we are seeing here is a manifestation that politics at the political parties level is not an internal matter anymore. It's a matter that has effect and consequences that are national. And that's why, in the wisdom of the architect of our constitution, under Article 88, the IBC was given the mandate to even conduct nominations of political parties, because what happens at the political parties level does not remain there. It's not like what they say, what happens in Las Vegas, it remains in Las Vegas. No. It has a national implication. For example, we last time we talked about direct nominations, and Mheshimiwa Senator Kalawale said that there could easily be contest. Now, direct nominations have a very serious implications, because the person you are nominating, if, for example, you are nominating somebody, you are nominating somebody and getting a direct party clearance in a political environment that is dominated by a certain political party, you are basically saying that's
for example, in
Kiambu,
if Senator Wamatangi was to be given a direct party ticket, then he just automatically becomes
it becomes automatically the what? When it becomes automatically the leader, let's ask ourselves, for example, we have a county like Kakamega. Kakamega is the third largest county in terms of population.
The second?
No. The first is Nairobi, second is Kiambu.
Where?
Go
and read your facts, man.
How can you say? Don't go into that discussion with Halole, because Halole always he hides over part of Kakamega.
Wait, can you stop and Google?
He says the Kakamega is still a part of Kakamega.
Can you please Google the population?
Let's assume that
this is very serious. You know why he's saying it? Is because having registered and maintained dead voters in the region of Kiambu is perceived to have more voters than Kakamega.
No, I'm not even talking about...
He's justifying it because Kakamega, with a far much superior population, has got fewer voters than Kiambu.
No, let's speak to the
look at the politician.
We will confirm.
Look at the politician in Harare. Even in the Senate, you remember we have had this big discussion with you,
Senator,
on what are the actual numbers.
They wanted to justify
the population.
Let's
trying to make a point.
Let's speak to the issue. First and foremost,
yes, absolutely. Yes.
Just a minute.
The second largest,
Barakabega, this is what you're hoping to join.
In Kenya, in terms of population.
How?
I mean, as a doctor,
senators.
I want to make sure.
Are you relying on the 2009 census?
And the point of the matter is this.
That is the one.
I did not.
This is struck off by law.
Senators.
I think just listen to each other. I think the point here is this. I wasn't even addressing the dead bodies. Mheshimiwa has always talked about dead bodies. Now, what is this fascination with the dead bodies? I never introduced that debate. I'm not introducing, but anyway, as it is at the moment, I'm just giving an example. Kakamega is a very important county in this republic. Now, if you say you are nominating so and so, in that particular area, you are giving direct nomination to a person from there. This person gets elected or becomes confirmed as the senator, and he has huge resources. First, he is legal. He's legally a governor, but he does not have legitimacy. What do I mean by legitimacy? If you look at our constitution, under chapter 1 on what is called the sovereignty of the constitution and the supremacy of the supremacy of the people and the supremacy of the constitution, you are already undermining the sovereignty of the people, because people are sovereign, but somehow some political leaders determine, oh, no, you, for whatever reason, whether it's financial, family, or any other affiliation, you are going to be the what? The constitution of Kenya has already been undermined.
Yes.
And therefore, it is important we recast, I hope post the election of 2017, the people who are going to be in the Senate and the people in the National Assembly, we need to look at this issue. And I say we need to look at this issue because I believe I'll be elected senator. Seriously. And ask ourselves, what is the implication of a political party determining to ignore the sovereignty of the people?
Because according to you, Bwana Karanja Kabage, the mantra should be, let the people decide.
Absolutely.
Now, one of those things, and I am sure this is going to make major headlines today, is a decision by Jubilee Party, which initially was to hold its party primaries tomorrow on a single day, 23,000 polling station, over 8,000 aspirants. Now the party has decided to stagger the party primaries initially to 2 days, split between Friday and Tuesday, but now we do understand there will be a third day, Monday as well, to cover Nairobi. So party primaries for Nairobi, as far as Jubilee is concerned, will not take place tomorrow, they will take place on Monday. The reason given is to allow, in respect to the Muslim brothers and sisters in Nairobi, because it's Friday and that's the day they hold their prayers. Question is Nairobi the only place that has Muslims as well? That's one question, because party primaries will continue in other places tomorrow, whether they have Muslims or not. So, they say, and it is said, that sources have confirmed that some of this is to allow for negotiation in Nairobi, in as far as the governor's contest is concerned within Jubilee, that probably some people are trying to talk to Sonko to maybe give up his run for that particular seat. Whether or not this is true, but these are the discussions down there. That defeats the purpose for letting the people decide. No. Because in some quarters it is said that Peter Kenneth is a preferred candidate for Jubilee. Jubilee has denied that fact, but on the face of it is a denial, but back there, backstage, a lot of things are happening.
In psychology, we say that there is nothing like a slip of the tongue. Mm-hmm. What comes out is what was at the subconscious mind, only that it comes out before you had the presence of mind to stop it from coming out. So when you hear them say that they have postponed in order to allow for Muslim prayers, it's actually a slip of the tongue. It is an admission that Jubilee only exists in Mount Kenya, where there is very little presence of Muslims, and Rift Valley Kalenjin, where there is very little Muslims. So the only other place where there is Jubilee in this country is Nairobi, and therefore that admission that they had therefore to adjust to allow for prayers. Having said that, I want to confirm that managing primaries is such a hot breed that when David Murathe cheated, because I hear he's the main mover of the thinking in Jubilee, when he cheated and convinced everybody that they should do it on one day, let them ask ODM, let them ask other political parties. It has been very quiet in Wiper. It has been very quiet in Fort Kenya. ODM is the one having problems in getting negative headlines. But I can assure you from tomorrow now, Kakamega is going now to nominations of Fort Kenya, followed by Mpungoma, followed by Trans Nzoia. There's going to be so much chaos in Fort Kenya. When Wiper comes on in its strongholds in the lower eastern, again there will be so much chaos. What we should admit is that internal political party democracy is impossible. It is impossible, I'm telling you.
What do you mean it is impossible?
Well, you can see what's happening. In Nyamira, Nyangama and Dr. Kesami, it couldn't take off. Dr. Kesami, upon sensing defeat or sensing that things might not move in the direction he wants, he storms out of it and it brings the election to an end. So ODM must be congratulated. They have broken fresh ground and they have shown that they are able to do something. You wait for Jubilee. Wait for Jubilee in Kiambu. Oh,
well, at least
when Babayao,
just for the senators, when
Babayao now confronts Kabogo, it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be chaotic everywhere. So I wish somebody could advise Jubilee that, okay, even 2 days is not enough. Let them spread over another 3 days.
It is 3 days now. It is 3 days now because Nairobi will just be alone on its own on Monday. Is it a reality check that Jubilee probably was overambitious, thinking that you can manage a mini election at 23,000 polling stations in a single day? That now they have actually seen, wow, that cannot just happen.
Two quick things. First is on that question that you've asked lastly, that why split in the first place? And we had already announced that we're going to have the nominations one single day. And that's what I was speaking to earlier, a commitment from the institutional level of the political party of ensuring that, one, there is a fair process, that there is expansion of the space to practice that democracy and get fair results as much as possible. And so that's what every political party should be doing. I mean, focusing on what should you do right now to ensure that you have free, fair, and acceptable or credible results. And so we should be congratulating Jubilee for, in this particular time when everybody was expecting to go, that they're able to come straight out clean and see that this is what we can do now, this is what we cannot do for this reason and that reason. Secondly, when we speak about the politics inside, are we looking at a scenario where Jubilee has said that there will be nominations on the 24th in Nairobi for purposes of giving time for Sonko and Jubilee to speak? I want to say to you, as a matter of surety, that it is not illegal, it is not wrong for politicians and the political party to seek to have dialogue so that they can have a process that is all right. Oh, that's good. But let me finish. You see, if for any one reason the two politicians or the entire party itself, as far as the nominations of Nairobi are concerned, can come to a compromise, so be it, such that the result would be having a democratic process of a nomination conducted fairly, properly and freely. And lastly, in staggering those days, let's also be clear, and I say this as a member of Jubilee. Jubilee is a political party. We are not a religious movement or an activist group. We are a political party, and political interests must also come to play. There is no way, even if I was now the head of Jubilee myself, I would put the party's chances and opportunity to become victorious in garnering as many positions as possible to be able to ensure that the party runs the next government by putting the nominations in days when I would know
that only there is the truth that actually the party is looking to prevail upon Senator Sonko to actually step to drop out of the governor's race in as far as the Jubilee Party primaries are concerned. Doesn't that therefore defeat what you're saying? Let the people decide.
I was addressing the principles as postulated in our constitution that I'm very faithful to. The sovereignty of the people must never by any means, shape or form be compromised. Now, one thing that Mheshimiwa Atangi was saying, which I didn't complete, and I think is very, very important here, he's saying political parties are not IBC. Because IBC is a constitutional institution that has been set up to do nothing else but to manage referendums, to manage elections, to register voters and do all sort of things. Now, when you talk about political parties doing what IBC should do, it's a gigantic challenge. And that's why personally I am saying we need to recalibrate. How do we, moving forward, do we ensure that nominations are no longer internal affairs of political parties? They are national affairs and must be conducted by that institution. Because you see, let me tell you, conducting elections, and I'm saying this because our Secretary General of Jubilee, Mheshimiwa Lapa Tuju, he was able to explain to us the process of how these elections are going to be conducted. And I said, wow, this is not a simple thing, all right, including the printing of ballot papers and so forth. Now, this thing of funding of political parties, it is stopped short of saying we are not only funding, but we want to make sure that the system or the process of elections are free and fair. And how are they going to be free and fair? We have a constitutional commission that should be charged with the mandate of conducting nominations and elections across the board.
Yes.
And I'm a member of the case of Nairobi. Okay, let me tell you, I'm a member of the Law Society of Kenya. And we are very proud of our record because IBC conducts our elections. You have never had contest because they are able to, they have the machinery. We don't have the machinery as LSK. Parties don't even have the machinery. All right? But if we allowed this commission, even expand it, if you have to expand it, it will be better for the future of this country. And in my opinion, that is how you can get both legality and legitimacy of our political
Just before we go for a break, I still want you to respond to this.
Yes.
Do you think it's right, if at all it is true, that the Jubilee Party is trying to prevail upon Senator Sonko to drop out of the governor's race in as far as Jubilee Party primaries are concerned, and that's probably the reason why the primaries in Nairobi have been slated for Monday and not tomorrow? Is it right? That's the question.
No, I'm not privy to...
Would it be right?
No, just a minute. I'm not privy, and I never don't want to hazard speculation as to what has informed the political party to determine that the elections in Nairobi should be held on that day itself. So I don't want to get into it because I'm not thought much about.
But if that was the case, would it go against the principle of let the people decide?
You know what I have said personally, and I'm faithful to that. I believe chapter 1 of our constitution lays out the principles that should govern how the people should be electing the leader. Because it says very clearly,
the people.
It says
I think the question,
the sovereignty of the, just a minute, the sovereignty of the people and the supremacy of the constitution. And the first thing is the sovereignty of the people. And it says this, the sovereignty of the people can be exercised either by the people directly or through the elected leaders. That's what it says.
Okay. That word prevail, you know, I think should be the word that should be expunged from the statement, because, you know, the wording is not the party to prevail. You know, I mean, the wording should be the party to provide an opportunity where there would be discussions between contestants, and that is healthy. That's okay. I mean, prevailing upon one to say that this is what you must do, that's what would be wrong. But saying that gentlemen, you are all members of the same political party, we have the same manifesto, we have the same constitution of the party. Can we look at the best way to approach this contest with the thought in mind that we also competing with others? How best can we manage the process so that we can win? I mean, you allow the space for the discussion, but when it comes to the competition, this is what we must insist on, that when it comes to the competition between now, after that result, it must be free, it must be fair. I mean, every single candidate must be given the opportunity to exercise. If they say, fine, we want to go to the contest and compete against each other, then that must be allowed to. They should be allowed to do it and do it properly, and the winner takes the mantle.
My two brothers here are speaking as if there's a vacuum. As a law, as an election requirement, every political party is supposed to file with the register of political parties the party nomination rules. And in many of these parties, and I believe Jubilee included, the issue of consensus is also one of the methods.
Yes.
So if an attempt is being made to reach a consensus between Peter Kenneth and Songo, there's nothing wrong with it, because their rules provide for the same. In fact, the issue of consensus is currently undergoing in ODM, in Busia,
yes.
in Fort Kenya, in Trans Nzoia, in Wiper, in Machakos. So it's very normal. People should not look at it as
you've explained it in a much quicker, faster way. Yes. Let's take a break now. When we return, we'll switch gears and discuss what's happening in NASA. There's a big meeting today at Bomas of Kenya. Of course, Principal number 5, Governor for Bomet County, Isaac Ruto, is being officially welcomed into the coalition. We'll be discussing that. What exactly does it bring to the table? That and a lot more when Public Press returns.